I was pouring orange juice into Tommy's glass when he leaned across the kitchen table and whispered those words that would shatter my entire world. The morning sunlight streaming through my Tampa kitchen window suddenly felt cold against my skin. My hand froze mid-pour, and I had to grip the counter to steady myself. Tommy was only 7 years old, his brown eyes wide with that innocent concern that children have when they know something is wrong, but don't understand what. My son-in-law Derek had been living in my house with my daughter Jennifer and Tommy for 8 months now, ever since they'd lost their apartment during Derek's job transition. That's what Jennifer called it. I called it what it was, him getting fired for showing up late too many times. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm even though my heart was already racing. Tommy glanced toward the hallway where Derek was still sleeping, then back at me. "After you leave for work, Daddy goes to your car in the garage. He stays there for a long time. Mommy doesn't know. He told me it's our secret." The juice carton trembled in my hand. I set it down carefully and knelt beside Tommy's chair, looking into his face. "How many times has this happened, Tommy?" He scrunched up his nose, thinking. "Lots of times. Maybe every day? He has a key that looks like yours." My mind was spinning with possibilities. None of them good. I owned a 2019 Honda Accord that I'd worked double shifts at the hospital to pay off. It was parked in my garage every night, and I drove it to my nursing job at Tampa General Hospital every morning at 6:30. If you're finding this story gripping, I need your help to grow this channel. We're working toward our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. Just click that subscribe button below this video. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us tremendously. Now back to what I discovered next. That morning I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work. In 15 years as a registered nurse, I'd taken maybe 5 sick days total. My supervisor was so shocked she didn't even question it. After Jennifer left for her receptionist job at the dental office, and Derek supposedly left for his job interviews, I waited. I sat in my living room with the curtains slightly parted, watching my own garage door like it was going to reveal the secrets of the universe. Tommy was at school. The house was silent, except for the ticking of the grandfather clock my late husband Robert had bought at an estate sale 20 years ago. Around 10 in the morning I heard it. The side door to the garage opened and closed. I crept through my laundry room and pressed my ear against the door that connected to the garage. Shuffling sounds, the car door opening, then silence. I waited 5 minutes that felt like 5 hours. My nursing scrubs felt too tight suddenly, restrictive. The Florida humidity was already building even though it was only March, and sweat trickled down my back. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I opened the door as quietly as possible and stepped into the dim garage. My car was right there, and through the driver's side window, I could see Derek's head barely visible above the steering wheel. He was slouched down in my driver's seat, and for a moment, a terrible moment, I thought maybe he was hurt. Then I saw the aluminum foil. He had a piece of aluminum foil on his lap with a lighter, and he was hunched over it with a straw in his mouth. The smell hit me then, that distinct chemical smell that I recognized from my years working in the emergency room. Methamphetamine. My son-in-law was smoking meth in my car, in my garage, in my house where my grandson slept. The rage that flooded through me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. I yanked that car door open so hard I'm surprised I didn't rip it off the hinges. Derek jumped so violently he hit his head on the roof of the car. His eyes were glassy and dilated, and he had that jittery look that meth users get. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, my voice echoing off the garage walls. He tried to hide the foil, scrambling like a teenager caught with cigarettes, but there was no hiding what I'd just seen. "Linda, I can explain," he stammered, but I was already pulling out my phone. "You're smoking meth, in my car, in my house, where my grandson lives." The words came out like bullets. "I'm calling the police right now." Derek's face changed then. The guilty, caught look disappeared and something uglier took its place. He lunged out of the car and grabbed my phone from my hand before I could dial. "You can't do that," he said, and his voice had an edge to it now. "You call the cops, and Jennifer loses everything. Child Protective Services gets involved. You want Tommy taken away? You want your daughter to hate you forever?" Those words stopped me cold. Not because I believed him entirely, but because there was truth in it. If I called the police right now, Derek would be arrested. Jennifer would be devastated. There would be investigations. And Tommy, sweet, innocent Tommy, would be caught in the middle of all of it. But what was my alternative? Let a meth addict continue living in my house? Continue using my car as his personal drug den? "Get out," I said quietly. "Get out of my house right now." Derek laughed, actually laughed. "This isn't your house, Linda. It's Jennifer's house, too. She's your daughter, remember? You can't just kick me out. Where am I supposed to go?" Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're building something special here. A community of people who love real, raw stories, and we need your help to reach 1,000 subscribers. Click subscribe and let's grow together. Thank you, and let's continue. I stood there in my garage, staring at this man who'd somehow wormed his way into my family, and I realized I was in an impossible situation. If I told Jennifer, she'd probably defend him. She was in love with him, or at least in love with the version of him she thought existed. If I kicked him out without her agreement, I'd drive a wedge between me and my daughter. But if I did nothing, I was enabling a drug addict to continue using in my home, around my grandson. "I'm giving you 24 hours, I finally said. "You have one day to tell Jennifer yourself, or I will. And either way, you're leaving this house." Derek's jaw tightened. He stepped closer to me, and I could smell the chemical residue on his breath. "You don't want to do this, Linda. I know things about you, about this house, about Robert." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" He smiled, and it was the cruelest smile I'd ever seen. "I know Robert's life insurance paid out $300,000 when he died. I know you told Jennifer it was only $50,000. I know you've been keeping that money in a separate account that she doesn't know about. How do you think she'd feel knowing you lied to her about her own father's death benefits?" I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. "How do you know about that?" I whispered. "I went through your files," he said simply. "Months ago. I know everything, Linda. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to keep your mouth shut about what you saw today. I'll be more careful. And in exchange, Jennifer never has to know that her mother is a liar and a thief." The worst part was, he was right. I had kept most of Robert's life insurance from Jennifer. Not because I was greedy or cruel, but because I knew my daughter. She'd always been impulsive with money. If she'd known there was $300,000, she would have spent it all within a year on God knows what, probably on Derek's schemes. I'd kept it secret to protect her future, to make sure Tommy would have money for college, to ensure there was something for emergencies. But Derek had twisted it into something ugly. "That's blackmail," I said. "Yeah," he agreed. "It is. So what's it going to be, Linda? Do we have an understanding?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to call his bluff. But the image of Jennifer's face when she found out I'd lied to her, the thought of Tommy being taken away by social services, it paralyzed me. "Fine," I said, the word tasting like poison. "But you stay out of my car, and you never ever use in this house again." Derek nodded, that smug smile still on his face. "Deal. See, we can be reasonable adults." He walked past me, back into the house, leaving me standing in the garage with the smell of meth still hanging in the air. I got into my car and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, and I cried. I cried for my daughter who'd chosen this man. I cried for Tommy who had to grow up in this chaos. And I cried for myself, for feeling so trapped and powerless. The next few weeks were torture. Derek was more careful, I'll give him that. I never caught him in my car again, though I checked obsessively every morning before work. I started locking my car doors, hiding my keys in different places, anything to keep him out. But the damage was done. I couldn't look at him without feeling sick. I couldn't talk to Jennifer without wanting to tell her everything and knowing I couldn't. The secret sat between us like a wall. Tommy started having nightmares. Jennifer mentioned it casually one morning over coffee, not connecting it to anything serious. "He keeps waking up saying there are monsters in the house," she said, sipping her latte. "It's probably just a phase." But I knew better. Children sense things. Tommy knew something was wrong, even if he couldn't articulate it. Your subscription would mean the world to me right now. We're so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, and every single one matters. If this story is resonating with you, click that red subscribe button. Let's reach this milestone together. One afternoon, I came home early from a grocery run and found Derek in Tommy's room. He was sitting on the edge of Tommy's bed, talking to him in a low voice. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but something about the scene made my skin crawl. "Derek," I said from the doorway, "what are you doing?" He turned, and that same cruel smile crossed his face. "Just talking to my son. That's not a crime, is it?" "Linda." Tommy looked uncomfortable, pressed back against his headboard. "Grandma," he said quietly, "I don't feel good." I walked into the room and scooped Tommy up, even though he was getting big for that. "Come on, sweetie, let's get you some water." As I carried him out, Derek called after us. "Remember our agreement, Linda. Remember what happens if you forget." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the house. Around 2 a.m, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Quiet, careful footsteps. I held my breath and listened. They stopped outside Tommy's door. I heard the doorknob turn slowly. That's when something inside me snapped. I don't know if it was mother's instinct or grandmother's rage or just pure desperation, but I threw off my covers and rushed into the hallway. Derek was standing in Tommy's doorway, silhouetted by the nightlight inside. "Get away from him," I said, my voice deadly quiet. Derek turned. "I was just checking on him." "No," I said. "You weren't. Get away from his room right now, or I swear to God, Derek, agreement or no agreement, I will call the police right now and tell them everything." He studied my face in the dim hallway light, and for the first time, I saw him realize that I meant it, that there were some lines even his blackmail couldn't make me ignore. "You're crazy," he muttered, but he stepped away from Tommy's door. "Stay away from him," I repeated. "If I ever see you near his room at night again, I don't care what you tell Jennifer. I don't care what she thinks of me. I will end you." I didn't know I had that kind of threat in me, but it came out with absolute conviction. Derek slunk back to the master bedroom where Jennifer was sleeping, oblivious to all of this. I stood outside Tommy's door the rest of the night, a silent guardian, my heart pounding until dawn. The next morning I made a decision. I called my sister Margaret in Orlando. Margaret and I had been through everything together. She was the only person I could trust with this. I told her everything, the meth, the blackmail, Derek outside Tommy's room at 2 a.m. Margaret listened without interrupting, which is how I knew she understood how serious this was. "You need evidence," she said when I finished. "His word against yours won't work. Jennifer will believe him because she wants to. You need proof." "How?" I asked. Margaret thought for a moment. "Security cameras. You can get them cheap online. Put one in the garage, one in the hallway, hidden ones. Get proof of what he's doing. Then you have leverage." I was a 62-year-old nurse, not a spy, but Margaret was right. That afternoon I drove to Best Buy and spent $300 on a security camera system. The kid who helped me set it up in the store parking lot probably thought I was paranoid, but I didn't care. I installed one camera in the garage, hidden in the shelving unit near my car, aimed right at the driver's side. Another went in the hallway upstairs, disguised in a smoke detector that I replaced. The cameras fed to an app on my phone. Now I had eyes everywhere. If you're still watching, I appreciate you so much. Hit that subscribe button to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Your support makes content like this possible. Thank you, and let's keep going with the story. It took 3 days. 3 days of checking that app obsessively, watching grainy footage of nothing. Then on a Thursday morning after I'd left for work, I got a notification on my phone. Motion detected in the garage. I pulled up the app during my break at the hospital, and there he was. Derek, clear as day, getting into my car with his little aluminum foil setup. I recorded the footage on my phone, saved it to 3 different cloud services, and sent copies to Margaret. Got him, I texted her. Her response was immediate. Now what? Now what indeed? I had the evidence, but what was I going to do with it? If I showed it to Jennifer, there would be a confrontation. Derek would reveal my secret about the life insurance. Jennifer would be furious with both of us. But at least Derek would be out of the house. At least Tommy would be safe. I decided to wait until Friday evening, when I knew Jennifer would be home from work, and Derek would be there too. I needed them both present for this. That Friday felt like the longest day of my life. Every patient I saw, every medication I administered, I was on autopilot. My mind was in my house, rehearsing what I would say, how I would show them the video, how I would handle the fallout. When I finally pulled into my driveway at 6:15 p.m., my hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn off the ignition. Jennifer's car was there. Derek's motorcycle was parked in front of the garage. It was time. I walked into the house and found them in the living room. Jennifer was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Derek was in the recliner, my late husband's recliner, watching some show about cars. Tommy was in his room. I could hear him playing with his toys upstairs. Good. I didn't want him to witness this. Jennifer, Derek, I need to talk to both of you, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Jennifer looked up. What's wrong, Mom? You look awful. Sit down, I said. Both of you, this is serious. Derek's eyes narrowed. He knew. Somehow he knew this was about him. Jennifer sat up straight, concern crossing her face. Mom, you're scaring me. What's going on? I pulled out my phone, opened the app, and pulled up the video from that morning. I installed security cameras, I said simply. And I found something very disturbing. I turned the phone around and showed them the video. Derek in my car, hunched over the aluminum foil, lighter in hand, the distinctive motions of smoking methamphetamine. The footage was clear, undeniable. Jennifer's face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, disbelief, recognition, horror. What is that? She whispered. That's your husband smoking meth in my car, I said. In our garage, in the house where your son lives. Derek stood up. That's entrapment. You can't just record people without their knowledge. Actually, I said, I can. It's my house, my garage, my car. And you're a guest who I just caught committing a crime on my property. Jennifer was staring at Derek like she'd never seen him before. Tell me that's not what it looks like, she said. Tell me right now, Derek. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried a different approach. Linda's not innocent here either, he said. You want to talk about secrets, Jennifer? Ask your mother about your father's life insurance. My stomach dropped, but I'd prepared for this. Yes, I said, turning to Jennifer. Your father's life insurance was more than I told you. It was $300,000. I kept most of it in a separate account. Jennifer's mouth fell open. You lied to me about Dad's insurance. I did, I said, because I knew you'd spend it. I kept it to make sure Tommy would have money for college, to make sure you'd have something for real emergencies. I was wrong to lie, and I'm sorry. But Jennifer, look at me. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're invested in this story. We're working hard to build this channel, and your subscription helps more than you know. Let's hit that 1,000 subscriber goal together. Just click below. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. What your husband just tried to do was use that secret to blackmail me into keeping quiet about his drug use. He's been using my car as his personal drug den. He threatened to tell you about the insurance if I exposed him. And last night I caught him outside Tommy's room at 2 a.m. The color drained from Jennifer's face. Outside Tommy's room? Why? I don't know, I said, but I know I'm not willing to find out. Jennifer, you have to see what's happening here. Derek has a serious drug problem. He's using in our home. He tried to blackmail me, and he's showing concerning behavior around Tommy. This has to end. Jennifer stood up, shaking. She walked over to Derek, and for a moment I thought she might hit him. Instead, she just looked at him with absolute devastation in her eyes. Is it true? She asked. All of it? Derek tried to take her hand. She jerked away. Is it true? She repeated louder this time. He sighed. I've been stressed, Jen. The job search. Money problems, living here with your mom. I made some bad choices, but I can fix it. I can get clean. We can work through this. How long? Jennifer asked. How long have you been using? He didn't answer. How long, Derek? A year, he finally said. Maybe a little more. Jennifer made a sound like she'd been punched. A year. You've been lying to me for a year. She turned to me. And you, Mom? You've been lying to me for how long? How long has it been since Dad died? 4 years. 5, I said quietly. I'm sorry. Jennifer, I really am. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Everyone lies. Everyone. I can't trust anyone. She grabbed her purse and her keys. I'm leaving. I need to think. I can't be here right now. What about Tommy? I asked. She looked at me, then at Derek. Tommy stays with you, Mom. Derek, you're out. I don't care where you go, but you're not staying in this house another night. Derek's face twisted with anger. You can't do that. I have rights. I'm your husband. And I'm his mother, Jennifer said, pointing upstairs where Tommy was still playing, blissfully unaware. And if I find out you've been anywhere near him inappropriately, Derek, I swear there won't be enough lawyers in Florida to protect you. Now get out. There was steel in my daughter's voice that I'd never heard before. Derek looked between us, realized he'd lost, and stormed out of the house. His motorcycle roared to life in the driveway moments later, then faded into the distance. Jennifer and I stood in the living room in silence. Finally, she spoke. I need some time, Mom. I'm going to stay with my friend Rachel for a few days, but Tommy stays here with you. Keep him safe. I will, I promised. Jennifer, I'm so sorry about the insurance. I should have trusted you. She shook her head. I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Right now, I just need to process everything. She went upstairs, talked to Tommy for a few minutes, then left. I heard her car pull away, and then it was just me and Tommy in the house. I went upstairs and found him sitting on his bed looking worried. Is Daddy in trouble? He asked. I sat down next to him and pulled him close. Your daddy made some bad choices, sweetie. But your mommy and I are going to make sure you're safe and loved no matter what, okay? Tommy nodded against my shoulder. Grandma, I'm sorry I told you the secret. Don't be sorry, I said. You did exactly the right thing. You were very brave. We're almost at the end of this incredible story, but before we get there, please hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. Thank you for being part of this journey. The next few weeks were a blur. Derek didn't come back, though he called Jennifer constantly. She eventually filed for divorce and got a restraining order after he showed up at her work one day, clearly high. Jennifer and I had several long, difficult conversations about the life insurance money. She was hurt, understandably, But eventually, she came to understand why I'd done it. I probably would have spent it all on Derek's business ideas. She admitted one evening over wine. He always had some new scheme. I can't believe I was so blind. Love makes us blind, I said. I loved your father, and when he died, I made decisions based on fear. I was afraid you'd end up without anything if I didn't hide that money. It wasn't right, but it came from love. Jennifer moved back in after 3 weeks. We agreed that the life insurance money would go into a trust for Tommy's education and future, with both of us as trustees. We also agreed to family counseling, all 3 of us, to work through the trauma of what had happened. Tommy started seeing a child psychologist who specialized in family disruption. Slowly, painfully, we began to heal. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Derek tried to fight for custody of Tommy, but given the video evidence of drug use and the restraining order, he didn't have a chance. The judge granted Jennifer full custody with no visitation rights until Derek could prove 18 months of sobriety through verified drug testing. I never saw Derek again after that night. I heard through Jennifer that he moved to Georgia, supposedly to go to rehab. Whether he actually did or not, I don't know. I hope so for his sake, but mostly I don't think about him anymore. What I think about is Tommy, who's now 8 years old and doing well in school. I think about Jennifer, who went back to school to become a dental hygienist and just got her license. I think about our family, broken and glued back together, stronger in some ways, still healing in others. Last week, Tommy and I were having breakfast, just like that morning when he first told me the secret. He was eating cereal and I was drinking coffee. "Grandma," he said, "I'm glad you believed me about Daddy." I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "I'll always believe you, Tommy. Always." He smiled, and in that smile, I saw resilience. I saw a child who'd been through trauma and come out the other side with people who loved him and protected him. That's all any of us can do, really. Protect the ones we love, tell the truth even when it's hard, and believe children when they whisper their fears to us over breakfast. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe to help us reach that 1,000 subscriber milestone. Your support makes all the difference. Click that subscribe button now, and I'll see you in the next story. 3 months after Derek left, I thought we'd finally found our equilibrium. Jennifer was thriving at her dental hygiene program. Tommy was excelling in 3rd grade, and I'd settled into a comfortable routine of work, family dinners, and weekend outings to the park. But life has a way of reminding you that nothing stays stable for long. It was a Tuesday afternoon in June when my phone rang during my shift at the hospital. The number was unfamiliar, but it had a Georgia area code. Something told me to answer it. "Is this Linda Morrison?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's calling?" I said, stepping into the break room for privacy. "My name is Patricia Simmons. I'm a social worker with the Georgia Department of Family and Children Services. I'm calling about Derek Matthews." My blood went cold. "What about him?" Patricia's voice was professional but sympathetic. "Mr. Matthews has been hospitalized in Atlanta. He overdosed 3 days ago. He's stable now, but he listed you as an emergency contact. We found a note in his belongings that mentioned your grandson, Tommy." I sat down heavily in one of the break room chairs. "What kind of note?" There was a pause. "Mrs. Morrison, I think this conversation would be better had in person, or at least over a more secure line. But I need to know, is Tommy safe? Is he currently in your care?" The implication hit me like a freight truck. "Tommy is perfectly safe. He lives with his mother and me. Derek hasn't seen him in months. We have a restraining order." "I see that in our system," Patricia said. But the note Derek had, it was concerning. He'd written Tommy's full name, your address, his school's name, and the words, "soon, very soon," multiple times. "Mrs. Morrison, I need to be direct with you. We believe Derek may have been planning something regarding your grandson. The break room suddenly felt too small, too hot. Planning what? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. We're not certain, but combined with the restraining order violation, we felt you needed to be notified immediately. Has Derek attempted to contact you or your daughter recently? I thought back over the past few weeks. No, nothing. Jennifer would have told me. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Morrison, Derek's hospitalization. It wasn't an accidental overdose. He left a suicide note. In it, he mentioned wanting to fix everything and get his family back before he could leave this world. If you're still with me through these difficult revelations, please take a second to subscribe to the channel. We're building a community here, working toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription helps us continue bringing you these real, powerful stories. Just click that button below. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Are you saying he was planning to take Tommy? We don't know his exact intentions, Patricia said carefully. But we found maps to Tommy's school. We found a detailed schedule of what we believe are your work hours and your daughter's class schedule. Mrs. Morrison, Derek had been planning this for a while. The overdose might have been intentional, or it might have been that he was using heavily to work up the courage to do whatever he was planning. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Is he going to recover? Physically, yes, but he'll be facing charges for violating the restraining order and potentially for stalking. If he's convicted, he'll likely serve time. But I wanted you to know so you could take extra precautions with Tommy. After I hung up, I sat in that break room for 20 minutes, just trying to process what I'd learned. The man my daughter had married, the father of my grandson, had been planning something potentially catastrophic. When my shift ended, I drove straight to Jennifer's workplace and asked her to step outside. We sat in my car in the parking lot of the dental office, and I told her everything Patricia had said. Jennifer's face went through that same progression of emotions I'd seen months ago. Disbelief, horror, fear, and finally a kind of grim determination. "We need to move," she said. "What?" I asked, surprised by the immediacy of her decision. "We need to move out of your house, Mom. Maybe out of Tampa entirely. Derek knows where we live. He knows Tommy's school. Even if he goes to prison, he'll get out eventually. I can't live looking over my shoulder forever." I understood her fear, but the thought of leaving the home I'd shared with Robert for 30 years, the house where Jennifer had grown up, where Tommy had learned to walk, it felt like letting Derek win. "Let's not make any rash decisions," I said. "Let's talk to a lawyer first. Let's talk to the police. There might be other options." But I could see in Jennifer's eyes that she'd already decided. That night, after Tommy was asleep, Jennifer and I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started looking at apartments in different parts of Florida. Pensacola, Jacksonville, Orlando, places where we could start fresh, where Derek wouldn't know to look for us. "What about your job?" I asked Jennifer. "What about Tommy's school? What about my job at the hospital?" Jennifer looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Mom, what about Tommy's life? What if Derek had succeeded in whatever he was planning? What if he'd grabbed Tommy from school? What if he'd hurt him?" She wasn't wrong. As a nurse, I'd seen what happened when people didn't take threats seriously. I'd treated children who'd been taken by non-custodial parents, women who'd ignored restraining orders, families torn apart by violence that everyone said they'd never expected. "Okay," I said. "Okay, we'll figure this out together." Over the next 2 weeks, we put together a plan. Jennifer would finish her current semester, but transfer to a dental hygiene program in Jacksonville. I would apply for positions at the hospitals there. Tommy would finish his school year in Tampa, then we'd move over the summer. I put my house on the market, the house that held so many memories. The realtor, a cheerful woman named Brenda, kept talking about the hot market and excellent equity. But all I could think about was packing up Robert's tools from the garage, boxing up Tommy's toys from the playroom, erasing the pencil marks on the doorframe where we'd measured Tommy's height every birthday. Before we could finalize anything, I got another call. This time from a Detective Ramirez with the Tampa Police Department. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm calling about Derek Matthews. I understand you were contacted by Georgia Social Services about his hospitalization." "Yes," I said. "Detective, is there news?" Ramirez cleared his throat. "Derek was released from the hospital 2 days ago. He was supposed to check into a court-mandated treatment facility, but he never showed up. Mrs. Morrison, Derek is in the wind. We've issued a warrant for his arrest, but I wanted to notify you directly given the circumstances. Your subscription right now would mean so much. We're working toward our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. If you're finding value in this story, click subscribe. It's that simple, and it helps us immensely." The floor seemed to drop out from under me. "What do you mean, in the wind?" "And we don't know where he is. He's not at his last known address in Georgia. His phone is off. His credit cards haven't been used. Derek has effectively disappeared." I felt that same paralysis I'd felt in the garage when I first caught him using. "Detective, we're planning to move, to leave Tampa. Should we accelerate that?" Ramirez was quiet for a moment. "Mrs. Morrison, I can't tell you what to do. But if you're asking me if I think Derek poses a credible threat, given what we found in his apartment in Georgia, I would say yes. I would take precautions." We accelerated everything. Jennifer withdrew Tommy from school immediately, citing a family emergency. I took a leave of absence from the hospital. We called a moving company and told them we needed to be out within a week. The house that had taken weeks to list sold in 3 days to a young couple with a baby. They wanted to close in 2 weeks. Perfect. We'd be long gone by then. But moving meant packing, and packing meant going through decades of accumulated life. I was in the attic, sorting through boxes of old clothes and Christmas decorations when I found it. A box I didn't recognize. It was tucked behind the artificial Christmas tree, covered in dust. I pulled it out and opened it, and my heart stopped. Inside were photos, dozens of photos of Tommy, at school, at the park, playing in our backyard. Photos taken from a distance with a zoom lens. Photos that neither Jennifer nor I had taken. Underneath the photos was a notebook filled with Derek's handwriting, page after page of rambling thoughts. Tommy deserves better than them. Tommy deserves a father who can protect him. They poisoned Jennifer against me. Linda ruined everything, but I can fix it. I can take Tommy somewhere safe, somewhere they'll never find us. We can start over. Just me and my son. The notebook fell from my hands. Derek had been in our attic. He'd been in our house, taking photos of Tommy, planning God knows what, and we'd never known. I called Detective Ramirez immediately. "He was in our house," I said, my voice shaking. "Derek was in our attic. I found photos, a notebook. Detective, he was planning to take Tommy. He's been planning it for months." Ramirez sent officers to our house within 30 minutes. They took the box as evidence, dusted for fingerprints, and confirmed what I already knew. Derek had been breaking into our house, probably using a key he'd copied before we kicked him out. "How many times?" Jennifer asked the officer processing the scene. "How many times was he in our house while we were sleeping?" The officer, a young woman who looked barely out of the academy, shook her head. "We don't know, ma'am. But based on the photos, at least a dozen times over the past few months." Jennifer's knees buckled. I caught her, and we sank to the floor together, right there in our hallway, while police officers photographed our attic. "He could have taken Tommy any time," Jennifer whispered. "Why didn't he?" I didn't have an answer. Maybe Derek was waiting for the right moment. Maybe he was building up courage. Maybe his drug use was clouding his judgment. Or maybe, and this was the most terrifying thought, he was planning something bigger than just taking Tommy. That night, none of us slept. Jennifer, Tommy, and I all stayed in my bedroom with the door locked and a chair wedged under the handle. Tommy thought it was an adventure, camping out in Grandma's room. Jennifer and I knew better. We were barricading ourselves in while we waited for a threat that could appear at any moment. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, and your support during this intense story means everything. Click that button and join our community. The next morning, Detective Ramirez called again. We found Derek's truck. It was abandoned at a rest stop about 40 miles north of Tampa on I-75. Mrs. Morrison, he's heading your direction, or he was. We've increased patrols in your neighborhood, but I strongly advise you to consider staying somewhere else until we locate him. We checked into a hotel that afternoon, using my credit card, but registering under Margaret's name. We took a room on the 3rd floor with only one entrance and a view of the parking lot. Jennifer and I took turns sleeping, one of us always awake, always watching. Tommy knew something was very wrong now. He was only 8, but he wasn't stupid. "Are we hiding from Daddy?" he asked the second night in the hotel. Jennifer looked at me, and I nodded. It was time for honesty. "Yes, sweetie," Jennifer said, pulling Tommy onto her lap. "Your daddy is very sick. He's not thinking clearly, and we need to stay away from him until he gets help." "Is he going to hurt us?" Tommy asked, and the fear in his voice broke my heart. "No," Jennifer said firmly. "Grandma and I won't let that happen, and the police are looking for him. You're safe, Tommy, I promise." But it was a promise neither of us knew if we could keep. 3 more days passed. The moving company packed up our house. The closing on the sale was postponed because we couldn't be present, but the buyers were understanding once we explained there was a police situation. Our new life in Jacksonville was on hold, frozen until Derek was found. On the 4th day, I was sitting in the hotel room, watching the parking lot while Jennifer and Tommy napped, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it. "Hello?" Breathing, just breathing on the other end. "Who is this?" I demanded. "You took everything from me, Linda." Derek's voice was raspy, strained. "You turned my wife against me. You took my son. You ruined my life." My hand flew to my mouth to keep from screaming and waking Jennifer and Tommy. "Derek, where are you?" "Close," he said. "I'm so close, Linda. I can see Tommy's school from here. Oh, wait, he's not there anymore, is he? You took him away. You're always taking. Derek, you need help. Turn yourself in. Go to the police. Get treatment." He laughed, and it was the laugh of someone who'd lost touch with reality. "I don't need treatment. I need my family. I need my son. And I'm going to get him back, Linda, real soon. Tell Jennifer I love her. Tell Tommy Daddy's coming." The line went dead. I immediately called Detective Ramirez and played back the conversation from memory, while Jennifer woke up and listened in horror. "He said he could see Tommy's school. He doesn't know we pulled Tommy out. He might be staking out the school right now," I told Ramirez. "If this story has you on the edge of your seat, please subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your subscription takes 2 seconds and helps us keep bringing you powerful, real stories like this one. Thank you." Within 20 minutes, police had surrounded Tommy's elementary school. They found Derek's car parked across the street, but Derek wasn't in it. A BOLO, be on the lookout, was issued for the entire Tampa area. Derek's photo was on the news that night. Manhunt underway for Derek Matthews, wanted for stalking and violating a restraining order. Matthews is considered potentially dangerous. If you see him, do not approach. Call 911 immediately. We stayed in that hotel room for 2 more days. On the 6th day, Detective Ramirez called. "We found him." I couldn't speak. "Is he alive?" I finally managed. "Yes, he broke into your house last night. Probably didn't know you'd moved out. Neighbors saw someone inside with a flashlight and called it in. We arrested him without incident. He's in custody now, Mrs. Morrison. It's over." But it wasn't over. Not really. Derek was charged with multiple counts: stalking, burglary, violating a restraining order, terroristic threats. His public defender tried to argue diminished capacity due to drug addiction, but the notebook and the photos, the detailed planning, all of it showed premeditation. The trial was 4 months later. Jennifer and I both testified. We had to sit in that courtroom and recount every detail, from finding him using meth in my car to discovering the photos in the attic. Tommy didn't have to testify, thank God, but the impact of everything showed in other ways. He started wetting the bed again. He refused to sleep alone. He had panic attacks when he saw motorcycles, because Derek used to ride a motorcycle. We got him into intensive therapy. Derek was sentenced to 8 years, with the possibility of parole after 5 if he completed drug treatment in prison. When the judge read the sentence, Derek turned and looked at us in the gallery. Not with anger like I expected, but with something that looked almost like relief, like he'd been running for so long and was finally allowed to stop. We moved to Jacksonville 2 weeks after the trial ended. Jennifer enrolled in her new program. I started my new job at a hospital near the beach. Tommy started at a new school where nobody knew our story. We were just a normal family, a single mom, her son, and the grandmother who lived with them. Some days were good. Tommy made friends at school. Jennifer graduated top of her class. I found a community garden near our apartment and started growing tomatoes and herbs. Some days were hard. Jennifer had nightmares about Derek breaking into wherever we were living. I found myself checking locks obsessively, looking over my shoulder in parking lots, seeing threats in every stranger's face. Tommy still asked about his father sometimes. "Is Daddy going to get better in prison?" he'd ask. "I hope so," Jennifer would tell him, and I think she meant it. Despite everything, despite the fear and the betrayal and the trauma, she still hoped that Derek would get clean, would get help, would somehow become the person she thought she married. Your subscription would really help us right now. We're building toward 1,000 subscribers, and we're so close. If you've made it this far in the story, please click that subscribe button below. It means the world to us. 2 years passed. Tommy turned 10. Jennifer met someone new, a kind dental supply salesman named Marcus, who was patient with Tommy and respectful of our family's boundaries. I retired from nursing and started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping other women who were escaping dangerous situations. Life wasn't perfect, but it was safe. It was stable. It was ours. Then, on a random Tuesday, I got a letter. It was from Derek. The prison's return address was stamped on the envelope. I stared at it for a full 5 minutes before opening it. "Dear Linda," it began. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I'm writing because I'm sober now. Truly sober for the first time in 3 years. And in my sobriety, I've had to face what I did, what I almost did." The letter went on for 3 pages. Derek talked about his addiction, about how it had warped his thinking, about the treatment he was receiving in prison. He talked about the night he'd been caught in our house, how he'd been planning to hide there and wait for us to come home, how he'd convinced himself that if he could just talk to Jennifer and Tommy, he could make them understand. "I was going to take Tommy," he wrote. "I'd convinced myself I was rescuing him, from you, from Jennifer, from a world I thought was keeping us apart. Linda, I was going to take my son and disappear, and I genuinely believed I was doing the right thing. That's how sick I was. That's how far I'd fallen." The letter concluded with an apology and a request. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I am asking if someday, when Tommy is older and if he wants to, you might allow him to know that his father got help, that his father is truly sorry, that his father's love for him, twisted and sick as it became, was always real. I don't expect to be part of his life. I've accepted that I forfeited that right. But I hope that someday he might know that his father fought his demons and won, even if it was too late to save our family. Derek. I showed the letter to Jennifer. She read it twice, then set it on the kitchen table and stared at it for a long time. "What do you think?" I asked. "I think he means it," she said finally. "I think he's probably genuinely sober and genuinely sorry. But I also think it doesn't change anything. He still did what he did. Tommy still has nightmares. We still had to uproot our entire lives. Good intentions and apologies don't undo trauma. So what do we do with this?" I asked, gesturing to the letter. Jennifer picked it up and walked to the kitchen drawer where we kept important documents. She filed it away carefully. "We keep it," she said. "And maybe someday, if Tommy asks about his father, we'll have this to show him. We'll let him decide if he wants to reach out or not. But that's Tommy's decision to make, not ours." Before we wrap up this powerful story, please take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already. We're so close to our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription matters. Thank you for being part of this journey. That conversation happened 6 months ago. Today, Tommy is thriving. He's on the honor roll at school. He joined the soccer team. He laughs easily and sleeps through the night. Jennifer and Marcus got engaged last month, and Tommy calls him Mark and seems genuinely happy about the upcoming wedding. As for me, I found a kind of peace I didn't think was possible after everything we went through. I look at my family, at my daughter who survived a nightmare and came out stronger, at my grandson who carries scars but hasn't let them define him, and I feel proud. We survived. We didn't just survive, we rebuilt. Derek's letter sits in that drawer, waiting. Maybe Tommy will want to read it someday. Maybe he'll want to meet his father. This version of his father who's sober and remorseful and changed. Or maybe he won't. Either way, it will be his choice, made when he's ready, with the full support of people who love him and will never let him face anything alone. That morning at breakfast, when Tommy whispered his secret about Daddy doing something strange in my car, he set in motion a chain of events that tore our family apart and then slowly, painfully, put us back together in a new configuration. He saved us by being brave enough to speak up, and I saved us by being brave enough to listen.